What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. So I was looking around for something else to review in terms of like just doing a fourth review for the weekend, and came across one that is, well, very short, but I definitely want to check it out because this is like the first release in a while from these guys. So I'm going to go over the latest EP from Torture Killer, Dead Inside. This also comes out on the 29th of July on The Other Records. This band formed in 2002 in Finland. This is their second EP overall. They have 4 full lengths. And, well, all right, this band started off as, I guess, kind of a 6 Feet Under cover band. In fact, I mean, if you notice, the name is actually the name of one of their songs. Hopefully it's one of the better ones. I can't really remember. I'm not a big 6 Feet Under fan. That was pretty much established in our review of their last album, and almost any time we bring them up. But they quickly started writing songs of their own, came out with their debut, and on their second album, Swarm, Chris Barnes actually graced their presence, quote unquote, and did vocals for that album, and that is the only album I own that is probably their most well-known and popular album, and it's pretty solid. Like, it's straight up old school death metal, very groove laden, does have Barnes on vocals. They're not the best. They're definitely better than they are now. That isn't saying much. I quietly said to myself, I'm not gonna make fun of Barnes that much, and apparently I was so quiet that I didn't hear myself say it because, well, I'm gonna make fun of Barnes a little bit on this. Now again, this is their first studio release in quite a bit. Their last one was 2013's Phobia, which that's 9 years ago, and they've been kind of dormant ever since. And in terms of like length, this isn't that much of a release. This is a little bit over 11 minutes. There's only 3 tracks. And I had to listen to this on Spotify, and I don't pay for Spotify. So I was instantly greeted to 3 long fucking commercials on there, which in total were longer than one of the fucking tracks on here. It feels hypocritical bitching about commercials because you probably had to sit through one to actually watch this video. But at least the YouTube commercials aren't that long and they're skippable. Spotify won't let me skip any of that shit, so I have to hear about someone's podcast about how much they love lettuce or some bullshit. Anyway, after what seemed like an eternity of being prompted to buy shit that I don't need, we got down to the EP. And since there are only 3 tracks in here, I'm just gonna track by track this one because, I mean, I can go over the overall vibe of it, but there's only like 11 minutes to really vibe about, so going over track by track kind of just makes more sense for this one. So it opens up with the title track, and I mean, it was kind of what I expected. Very old school death metal, very death and roll-ish. I mean, this band probably based some of their musical influence on 6 Feet Under, hopefully some Cannibal Corpse too. I mean, I'm not completely shitting on Barnes. I'm listening to The Bleeding, I'm wearing The Bleeding. You know, he was on a very important album to me. But we're gonna get right to the shitting kind of right away because vocals were kind of the thing I was gonna pay attention to the most because, again, the only album I own by this band is Swarm, and again, it's pretty decent, and also, again, you know, the vocals. But I do think it is kind of interesting that for a band named after a 6 Feet Under song and a band that has actually featured Chris Barnes on one of their albums, the guy on vocals now sounds a little bit more like Corpse Grinder, which that's pretty interesting. That's definitely something to muddle about. The vocals are straight up old school death metal. He has a good, you know, lower growl and a high scream, and honestly his delivery comes out way more forceful, and again, it kind of sounds more like Corpse Grinder than Chris Barnes. But musically, this first song is very by the numbers. Like, it's very repetitive. It's more of a death and roll song. Like, it just kind of has like more rock riffs. It kind of sticks the same sort of, you know, rhythm to the entire song. There's not a lot of variation. There are some like more atmospheric kind of leads, like a tremolo that's kind of spacey or dissonant, but behind it you kind of have just very, you know, meat and potatoes death metal / death and roll, like kind of, you know, Obituary, Jungle Rot, 6 Feet Under. The main riff that carries it is a little bit thrashy. It's just sort of a very basic riff, but I mean, it's, you know, kind of by the numbers, and, you know, it kind of morphs into more of a rock-ish riff a little bit later on, but, you know, I thought the vocals were pretty on point. I do think it started off a little odd just because, like, the intro, like, it kind of, you know, isolates the riff and kind of has some drum accents in there, and then when you hear the drums come in, you're like, man, I really hope that isn't what they sound like, and luckily it shifts. Like, it just has this weird sound, like someone slamming a screen door in a large fucking hallway in terms of the snare. And I was like, man, that better not be what this entire album sounds like, because that's not great. But yeah, this opening track, I mean, it really didn't do much for me. Again, a very stripped down, like very bare bones, and I mean, honestly, kind of boring. I mean, it just feels like a very safe song, and for this being the title track and the opening track, like this is generally the pace setter. Granted, this is a short EP. I think you have to latch the listener in a little bit more. Then we get down to the second track, The Omen, which is essentially an instrumental interlude on an 11-minute EP. It's a little bit over 2 minutes. It's like, dude, for real? Like, I was kind of expecting like a short sort of like, barn burner song to sort of like, pick up the pace, pick up the energy in here, and you get this interlude. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily the score to The Omen. I mean, it's loaded with, horror synths, and there's like a piano melody that carries it, and then it turns into a guitar melody, and I can't remember if that's actually the score to The Omen. It's been a while since I've watched the original one. And honestly, with the recent passing of David Warner, I really feel like I should again. That dude was an awesome character actor and sorely fucking missed. But anyway, like, having like this sort of track as the second track and, on a short EP, man, this really didn't do anything for me. I was kind of scratching my head like, okay, maybe it was just like an intro or something like that. Like, okay, this will end after like 20 seconds and we'll get something. And I didn't. I just got like an interlude on, again, an 11-minute EP. But we get down to the last track, Iniquity, and holy shit, this song's really fucking good. In fact, this is easily the best song on here, and it's not even fucking close. There's a nice mid-tempo groove to it. The riff sounds way more energetic. The riff that carries it, there's some really cool palm-muted chugs. The vocals sound a little bit more feral, a little bit more brutal. And this song kind of foregoes any like death and roll anything. Like, this is just a straight up old school death metal song with a fuck ton of groove behind it. There's great hooks in the riffs. There's some really solid melodies when it comes down to the more up-tempo chorus. Like, there's some really cool lead melodies. There's even a nice solo on it. And this still embodies like, what their sound is, like very stripped down old school death metal, but this is done with so much fucking flair. And honestly, like, this was kind of what I was waiting for in here. Is like, man, this is the last chance for this EP to really grab me. And at least it did on this last track, because I think this one's really good. And if this is just a teaser for things to come, I sincerely hope that this last track is the direction of this new album they're doing. If they are doing one, I don't know for a fact if they are, but this last track shows a lot of promise. Overall, I will say the production on here is pretty dry. Like, it's pretty bare bones. It's kind of missing the extra hefty bite that was on Swarm. Like, those guitars were thick and chunky. Here, they got a kind of a thin sound to them, but it's still got a good tone, I guess. And at least vocally, I can say that this is, well, better than Swarm, just because, Barnes. He's not good. He makes noises like a fucking cicada shrieking in the fucking summer. And then the rest of the time, he kind of just sounds like a fucking dude with laryngitis. Barnes, yeah, I had tremendous respect for him before in Cannibal Corpse, and then, 6 Feet Under, and I don't know what the fuck happened there. I think years of not growling right kind of fucked up his voice, but honestly, it's his attitude and that whole jumping on the whole panel with, Corpse Grinder and Alex Jones and everybody on there. Rest in peace, Trevor, too. A moment that he could cheer on his peers and fucking, cheer on, new bands and shit coming up that, clearly paved the way for, an old school death metal sound coming back and shit like that. He fucking dropped the ball. But this isn't a review of Barnes, because this would be a much longer review if it was. But as for this EP, overall, I'm going to give it 2 stars, and honestly, 1.5 of the stars is for that last track, and then the rest of it. The opening track really didn't grab me very much. Like, it's just a very plain, very safe song. The interlude, I mean, yeah, everyone knows how I feel about interludes, especially on something this short. I just feel like there should have been another track on there. But that last track, Iniquity, check that one out. I think that is a really solid song. There's some great fucking riffs in there, and it's catchy. It's catchier than hell. I would actually possibly buy a new album from Torture Killer based on the strength of that track, if they continue in that direction versus the first track. Now, admittedly, I haven't listened to anything from Torture Killer since Swarm. Like, I really didn't pick up any of their other albums. It's just one of those bands that, I didn't return to very much. Like, I thought Swarm was fun for what it was, but I did want to check out this one just to kind of see where they're at after such a long hiatus. And I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag, but I think there's like, a ray of sunshine kind of poking out from the clouds. If you're a fan of like Obituary, Jungle Rot, 6 Feet Under, I would definitely say check this out. I mean, if you just like old school death metal and just kind of groovy death and roll maybe, check it out. Again, it's a short listen. And this is just my opinion. If you actually love all this, that's fucking awesome. I only ended up liking like one track really, but honestly, that one track I thought was pretty damn strong. So yeah, definitely give this a chance. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon, and there is a link to that in thrallsmetal.com. See, I'm actually learning. And while you're at thrallsmetal.com, you can actually snag one of our kick-ass shirts there. As for other stuff in here, again, trying to get the Pantera ranking together, trying to figure out a date for us to get together. Again, like a lot of conflicting schedules, but we'll figure something out. And Denver Death Fest, I still don't know anymore. I do know that, you know, we do have bands confirmed. We just can't make an announcement for reasons. I don't know the reasons yet, but I assume it's waiting on confirmation from either a sponsor or a band. I know Miller and John are looking forward to telling you the lineup of this band, and of course, as always, this will take place September 30th through October 2nd in Denver, Colorado, because it is Denver Death Fest, and if it was any place else, it wouldn't be Denver Death Fest. So announcements coming soon, relatively, and probably with that, ticket prices. If you're planning on coming out, make sure to hit us up. Come by, talk to us. Let's talk about this Torture Killer EP. Maybe make fun of Chris Barnes just a little bit. I don't know. Whatever you're in the mood for. I'll probably be in the mood for death metal and maybe some beers. If that doesn't sound like a good time, I'm not sure what does. And of course, as always, thank you so much for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. We love all the feedback and just pretty much everything. If this is the thank you part of the video, I have to do this. It's not contractually obligated. It's obligated by my need to thank you because you're fucking awesome. Seriously, without you guys, this channel would not have grown at all because, well, it's kind of based on subscribers. But honestly, I think, you know, we've built a solid fucking community here, and I love hearing that you guys find cool music through us. That's one of my favorite things to hear in the comments. This has been so much fucking fun, and it continues to be fun. And again, all due to you guys. So once again, you're getting thanked. That's right, it's fucking happening once again. This is a non-consensual thank you. You're just gonna lie there and take it. And we will catch you later.